This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
We are back with Scarborough Law. That's right, the owner and attorney herself, Stephanie Scarborough, joining us live today. And we're going to discuss more about her practice and company that, again, offers up so many services like immigration, business law, so much. She's helping business owners and individuals in so many different ways. So we had a great conversation last time. We're going to continue today. But first, let's have you introduce yourself to the new timers that are tuning in today for the show, please.
Sure, Jill. Yeah, I'm a business immigration attorney. We do business and immigration. Mostly our business practice relates to a lot of our immigration, and I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about that later. Our offices are in Alpharetta, Georgia, and Jacksonville, Florida. And we've been serving the business immigration community for quite some time now. My own practice has been running since 2012, and we serve anywhere from larger multinational companies to mid-sized companies and even startups. And
Wonderful.
Really our niche right now is serving investors who are seeking E-2 visas or treaty traders. So that's one of our niche markets right now.
Beautiful. But you do so much, right? As a family-based immigration attorney, and you're helping so many here throughout Georgia, Florida. What other areas does Scarborough Law work in?
Yeah, chiefly investor visas, H-1B specialty workers, intercompany transfers, and often the investor visa versus the intercompany transfer is one of those strategic decisions we really work with our companies to help them decide which one is best for their company. We also do some family-based immigration, which is if you want to bring your spouse or you want to bring a family member to the United States, we do that also. So really we run the gamut of family-based and employment-based immigration. We don't do deportation removal, but anything you need that's transactional on the immigration side, that's us.
Beautiful. All right. So what did you have in mind for us today? What did you want your audience to know more about? What are we going to dive into?
Yeah, I think the most exciting thing that we're doing right now is we noticed, first let me start this by saying, I really believe that the new American dream is business ownership.
Yeah.
It's not a house and 2.5 kids and, a car in the driveway with a garage. I really believe that most of the immigrants that we see coming to the United States now are seeking to build an entrepreneurial lifestyle. They want to start a business, they want to grow that business, and they want to leave their family a legacy. So we support that. And the most exciting way we do that right now is by getting involved with the investor very early in the process. So when they're conceptualizing their business and what they want to do in the US, we come in right then, talk about business strategy. What do you love doing? What is your passion? And then we help them pick a business that relates to that passion and also supports their immigration goals. So I think that's unique in the industry because a lot of times the immigration attorneys will say, hey, go to someone else and form the company and figure out, what company you want to buy and then come back to us and we'll do the visa. We want to be here for you from the start, conceptualization all the way through to, making sure that your business is in compliance and an ongoing with kind of our in-house counsel contracted services.
Got it. Wow. Thank you so much. And just curious now, you have how many years of experience in this?
Well, I've been working in the immigration industry even before I was an attorney, so over 25 years of experience. And then as an attorney, 18 years of experience. So I've been doing this a long time, and I've had the opportunity to work with, larger corporations that have grown, from, small few $1 million company to now 60, 70, 80, even some of them $200 million and above. And I've also had the opportunity to really work with the entrepreneurs. I mean, I'm a business owner myself.
Yeah.
So I do try to apply a lot of what I learned in running my own business to how I counsel my clients. And we also bring in professionals who know much more than me on the business end, as far as running your business and remaining compliant. So we really do want our business owners and investors to be completely successful in their business.
Beautiful. Would you mind sharing a story or two of some of your clients and how you're helping these businesses specifically?
Yeah, yeah, and this is kind of what sparked my desire to really get involved early and help the entrepreneurs in the strategic planning and selection of the business type. And I had a client who ran, let's call it like a beach rental property, right? They were renting out a specific beach. I'll call it jet skis, but it wasn't jet
Yep.
skis, but let's say jet skis to keep it as confidential as possible. They
Yep.
were renting those out. That visa was filed by another law firm. And we kind of inherited their case after it was filed. And when we started to talk to them and analyze their business, when we went for a renewal, we learned that, in fact, the business was failing. And
Mm-hmm.
there's this concept in investor visa called marginality. Like
Yeah.
your investor visa has to do more than just pay you a salary. And unfortunately, in this business, that's all it was doing, was paying the owner a salary. In fact, it was barely doing that.
Wow.
We worked with them. They ended up essentially switching their investment to a new business. And now they are applying and will soon get approved for their E2 under this new business. So we were actually able to pull money out of the failing business and use that for their investment. It was very, very interesting because we're able to save their status in the United States that way. So
Wow.
that's always rewarding for me whenever I can help someone.
Beautiful. What else did you want to make sure we share for today's conversation?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is I really try to work with business owners to understand, like, the visa doesn't drive the business selection. And like some people are just so desperate, like I just want to get there. Just like get me a visa so I can get to the United States. And it's really not that, right? Yes, the investor visa or the EB-5, which is a green card tool, those tools can get, that's your status in the United States if you're seeking a green card or you're seeking a temporary residency. But really, it's about running a successful business, because the successful business will ensure the success of your immigration process. So that's really key. That's why I think it's so much more important to, instead of doing one-off visas, to really be a business counselor and work with our clients throughout the entire process. Same thing goes for a company, like a multinational company. Like I have an office in Europe and I'm operating that office. I'm selling to the US. I want to transfer people to the United States. That's an intercompany transfer. So sometimes it's not an investment that we make into our business. Sometimes it is transferring workers. So I might set up a subsidiary in the United States. There are these strategies and these strategic choices that may dictate whether it's easier to get a green card versus harder to get a green card.
Hmm.
So very important to think about those plans. I'll give you an example.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Yeah, I have a great example actually. I had a client who was trying to come in as an E1 treaty trader. Another attorney filed a treaty trader. The problem was their goods were being drop shipped from China. And so in that case, the consulate, this case in Canada, ruled that most of the trade was with China. So most of your trade on an E1 treaty trader case has to be with the US, but they were getting most of their products from China. So the trade was substantially with China instead of the US, even though it was coming to the US. So that might not have been the best fit for them, right? That visa. So I talked to the client when we inherited them, and I basically asked them their goals. And their ultimate goal was to move to the United States and live in the United States permanently. So we changed the strategy to intercompany transfer. You have a company in Canada. We formed a subsidiary in the United States in a tax-friendly state that they wanted to live in. And then we filed an intercompany transfer for them to come to the United States. Now, not only are they going to be able to come and work here much more quickly, we don't have to worry about the consulate, questioning the treaty trade, the trade between China and the US. Instead, we now can bring them here as an intercompany transfer. And then beyond that, they can get a
Mm-hmm.
green card as an executive of a US company
Oh,
as the
wow.
company grows. It's a much faster green card process. I love that strategy for them. And it doesn't fit with everyone, but that's one of my favorite strategies, I would say, is if you have the goal of remaining permanently, maybe that's the way we do it.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing this. And by the way, if you are just tuning in, just want to remind you who we're speaking to. Yes, our friend, our attorney from Stephanie Scarborough. It's actually Scarborough Law. Stephanie Scarborough joining us here today live and again helping so many in this niche. And it's pretty amazing because I also just wanted to commend you on your service for those that don't know, right? You're a veteran of Desert Storm and you served in the
Yes,
U.S.
ma'am.
Army as
Mhm.
well.
Yes, ma'am. I was a young lady who joined the Army Reserves, and we deployed to for Desert Storm, and then I served after that as an active Guard and Reserve member for many years, and got out of the military, and I came into my legal career actually from my first job out of the military, and started to work as an immigration project coordinator
Wow.
with on H-1Bs. And then I thought, wow, this is great. I could just go to law school and do this full time. I loved it. And here I am today.
Beautiful. I love it. And you're helping so many other chase their dreams, which is amazing. So thanks again. What else did you have in mind for everyone today in regards to, the work you're doing, the type of help you're offering? And, I'd love hearing these stories, how you're helping these businesses create, not just, the cash flow, but profits and really a lot of high volume work I know you're doing.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. And it is about profits. And it's, your business has to be profitable enough to not be marginal under the law if you're on an
True.
e-visa, but also every renewal period, whatever type of visa you have a renewal period, whether that's 1 year, 3 years, 2 years, 5 years, whatever it is. You're eventually going to go to the consulate, or you're going to ask the Department of Homeland Security for an extension. In order to do that, your business has to be healthy enough to support your salary, or to support, if you're an executive, to support your role as an executive.
Yeah.
And and that level of counseling and that kind of continuum of care is really what we're seeking to provide our clients. And I should touch on the families of the clients, right? The very important thing about these strategies and making sure that we choose the right strategy is looking at the families. Families have children that age out at 21. Once your child turns 21, they can't get your green card unless you already have a green card in process. So what happens is they age out.
Okay.
So for countries, yeah, it's so you could be here, your child could be living here for 15 years, and and they turn 21. If you aren't at a certain stage of the green card process, they age out and have to start all over. So the perfect example is India. It takes a very long time, like 16 years or more, to get a
Wow.
green card if you're from India. It's
Wow.
just like a technicality, and the statutory allocation of visas, right? So, yeah, somebody coming in from India needs to really strategize very, very early. Even if their kid's 10 years old today, their kid may age out. If they cannot get like a permanent labor certification, or if they own a business, to make sure that they're able to get the green card in process and filed as early as possible after they arrive. Sometimes there's a little advocacy, right? It's a very expensive process. So if you're working for a third party employer,
Mm-hmm.
another thing we do is we represent the employee. It's okay to have your own immigration advocate throughout your process, instead of the employer's attorney. Basically, they don't represent you, they represent the interest of the employer. So much like you'd have an employment-based attorney for any issues related to your offer letter, you might want to have it reviewed, or contracts that you sign for employment. Same thing goes on the immigration side. Someone needs to advise you what is the best thing for you in terms of you and your family getting a green card, if that's your desire, or maintaining your status in the US. So
Interesting.
yeah, it's fascinating. And we're lucky to have an amazing team that has the same philosophy as us. We want as many people to realize their immigration goals and dreams as possible. And if that's an entrepreneur, great. If it's somebody who's getting married to a foreign national, we want to create kind of a frictionless experience. Sometimes it's issues with past criminal offenses that need to be dealt with. We want to make sure that first of all, put their minds at ease. We can help you. We're here to talk you through this and really work through a process with them, a strategy to enable them to realize whatever their immigration goal is, whether that's a temporary residency or temporary work permit or a green card.
Got it. Now, just curious, I mean, with the new presidency and of course Donald Trump in office, have things changed at all with immigration? I know there is, a lot of headlines and he's making a lot of waves in certain areas. How has this affected, the work that you're doing?
Yeah, I think we're much more attentive, right? We're also looking at much more at federal litigation. Mm-hmm. So we may have to sue the government. And what is happening is a test of the constitutional limits, right? They're testing constitutional limits by limiting free speech, going into peaceful demonstrations and maybe inciting them to be more violent. That's a test of free speech. They're also testing, like, how far can they push it? Can they take someone who's in the United States lawfully and put them in a prison in El Salvador? And we saw the judge said, no, bring them back. So now we're going to come up with another charge, right, to try to do that. But on the employment-based side, we're also seeing that. And where we're seeing it is, in order for an issue to come up with your visa, let's say if you get arrested for a crime, obviously you have a problem with your visa that needs to be dealt with. But what we're seeing is, even for, say, an H-1B worker, which is a specialty occupation, we're seeing biometrics be issued, and that's just fingerprints and photos. Okay. So generally in that process, we're dealing only with the employer. And now if you've had a speeding ticket, you may have to go into a local USCIS office and provide your fingerprints and your photo. By the way, you've already had a background check when you got your visa initially, but now, even based on a simple speeding ticket, you may be called in. Wow. This obviously has somewhat of a chilling effect on immigration, right? Let's just try to make it as hard on people. This is the end as we can. And politics aside, all you have to do is open Project 25 and read the blueprint for what they're doing, because it's there. Like, you can equate it to that. And our job as practitioners now, and this is why I advocate for employees on visas to have their own counsel, because even though a lot of employers will say you can do dual representation, there are things that come up, whether you're changing employers, or what if you do have an unfortunate, like a driving under the influence charge? You need to have somebody that you can talk to that maybe is not your employer. And then also on the employer side, the employers need to be counseled on, what do I do if this happens to one of my employees? Like, how do I treat this? You have an employment lawyer that's going to discuss the part about, like, whether or not you continue employment, but also you have an immigration attorney that needs to counsel employers on, how do you make sure that you protect your employees? Yeah. If they're in lawful status in the U.S. and they have a simple driving, violation, which is like a speeding ticket or something, then how do you protect your employees, and how do you make sure that they're comfortable enough to stay here? Because many businesses rely on specialty workers, and in the case of like an intercompany transfer, that might be an essential employee who's coming here with like specialized knowledge of your business, or an essential executive or a key person in your business that you can't afford to lose just because they're afraid to remain in the United States because policies have changed. So now is really the time to advocate and partner with employees and employers to make sure that they understand that if you're operating within the law, you have rights, just like American citizens have rights. And, we'll advocate for you for those rights, whether that's fighting it with Department of Homeland Security or doing federal court litigation, because there are massive delays in processing right now.
I could imagine. Yeah. Wow. Great conversation. Thank you for answering that question. Scarborough Law, what else did you have in mind for us today?
I think just also, there's a lot of fear around processes now. What we're actually seeing on the investment side, which is extremely interesting, is businesses investing in the United States. So I think we're far enough away from COVID now where people feel more comfortable that maybe we're getting a little bit of economic recovery, or at least people are interested now again in investing in the US in spite of all of these problems. So, and that is where advocacy matters, right? Can you still safely invest? Can you still safely transfer employees to the US? Absolutely, you can. But what you need is an advocate who's on your side and who is, advising you and strategically planning your investment or strategically planning those transfers so that you can kind of stay out of that fray. And I would also encourage immigrants to not so much listen to the news, but really look at what's happening in the type of visa category that you're applying for.
Got it. All right, good to know. Now, also with this work you're doing, and so many people out there, I mean, just for me being a regular citizen, right? I hear
Mhm.
so much about what it takes to, I have a lot of neighbors who they're from Brazil, they married into a U.S. citizen, but the ways to become a U.S. citizen, can I just ask because I hear some terms
Mhm.
that I'm not familiar with. I've heard of like
Sure.
naturalization, right?
Yep.
Then it's this new, I forget the name of it. It's like an you mentioned it before, EB3 card. What is that? The
Oh,
status through
yeah.
employment, or what is that one
Hmm.
called? EB something?
Yeah. Employment-based visa. So you have
Thank you.
employment-based, you either have, right, an asylum, like you come to the United States, you're being persecuted or you're likely to be persecuted in your own home country, and you apply for asylum. But if you're not doing that, then most of the time you're applying under for a green card, let's say, either under a family-based process where a family member, so a spouse or like an adult son who's a U.S. citizen applying for a parent, or adult son or daughter applying for a parent, or your children. There is a sibling category, but it takes forever. Honestly, it takes decades to get a visa, to get an immigrant visa off of that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then you have the employment side, which really is sometimes a faster process. So instead of doing a sibling category, for instance, I may say, "Hey, is there an employment-based visa that you can come on, either a temporary-based visa or a green card process that would get you here faster? One, maybe on the temporary side, get you a
Okay.
green card faster than waiting a couple of decades for a sibling-based category." But I think, you mentioned your friend from Brazil. I think one of the hardest things right now is it used to be that you could apply for an immediate relative, and really within 10 to 12 months, they'd be here,
Yeah.
right? You apply
Okay.
for an immigrant petition in the US, they go to the consulate, they get their consular stamping, they come in with an immigrant visa, and they have their green card. That used to take 10 to 12 months. Right now, we don't have a timeline because the immigrant petition at USCIS right now, which is the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, that adjudicates those, that takes care of those petitions, that's taking a very long time now. It could take 3 or 4 years to get that approved.
Yeah.
And so now you're waiting potentially. And by the way, we just don't know because they're not posting like accurate processing times. So it could take 2 years, it could take three to bring your immediate relative, spouse, or children to the US. So that time, that timing or that separation from your family, um, USCIS used to be very rooted in family unity. The immigration system used to be, I'd say, pre this administration, the attitude was, and kind of the primary objective was family unity. So do what we can to keep the families together, limit time, processing time so families can be reunited. And we just don't see that now. It's
Yeah.
just a very slow drag of process, and it's very frustrating for our families and our business owners.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, thank you so much for your insight today. How did you want to leave off?
I think just again, don't be scared. This is a really difficult time in the United States, but there are still many opportunities for investors and for companies that want to invest in the United States and transfer their workers here. The key is have an advocate who's going to not only tell you how to process a visa, but work with you through the entire process and really be your advocate and partner in whether it's a business venture or bringing a family member. And that's really what we strive to do at Scarborough Law.
Thank you. How can we contact you?
You can contact us. You can go to our website, scarboroughlaw.com. You can contact us at 678-257-1808. That's our Georgia office, our Alpharetta, Georgia office. Or you can email us at wecare@scarboroughلاw.com. Scarborough is really a fun word to spell. So, it's just like the town in Ontario province in Canada, scarboroughlaw.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Pleasure. And we'll see you next week. Thank you again.
Thank you, Jill. I appreciate you.
Bye-bye. Same here. Bye.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.